Good morning. Today on Spotlight, inside the 2024 election numbers. Forget the partisan spin and post-mortem outcome aftermath. The numbers speak for themselves and tell the real story. Here this morning to navigate us through this election roadmap is Ed Sarpolis, Executive Director of Target Insight. And later on our Sunday morning program, we'll shine our light on a powerful new film highlighting 6 U.S. communities, Detroit included, taking measurable steps to reduce homelessness. Sharon Banks, President and CEO of Bankable Marketing Strategies, will join me to share the details. It's Sunday, November the 17th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Ed Sarpolis, one of our guests today on Spotlight. Ed, welcome back.
Welcome back. Good to see you.
You survived the election.
Yes, I did. Yes, you did. Yes, I did.
Believe it or not, we all did.
We did.
Forget the issues for a minute, okay? I wanted to talk to you because you pay close attention to the numbers. You live by the numbers. But the numbers tell a story. Let's start with Harris. Why did Harris lose?
Just cold facts, both nationally.
And we should be clear, we're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris.
Harris.
In case somebody just landed.
The bottom line, when I went back and I talked to my Republican counterparts, was just not me going to the data. We found both nationally as well in states like Michigan, Democrats stayed home. Mm-hmm. Okay, because if you look at all of,
but they talked about this record turnout.
Well, that was only for Republican voters was a record turnout. Okay, for example, like in Michigan, 172,000 more Republicans voted than 4 years ago. But if the same number of people who voted for Biden in Michigan 4 years ago showed up, Harris would have won. So it was Democrats that stayed home. Roughly 83,000 stayed home compared to 4 years ago. And nationally, Biden outperformed Trump by almost 8.7 million votes 4 years ago. But bottom line, 8.7 Democrats stayed home nationally. Trump's numbers only went up 1.4 million. So in both national polling as well here in numbers, and people say, how do you do that? Well, I have the voter file and also the Secretary of State files. We can actually say who showed up and who stayed home. Bottom line, Democrats stayed home.
And conversely, Trump won Michigan, a swing state,
yes.
A state that we know it's purple historically,
it is, yes.
But there are a lot of people who felt because it's been so blue lately,
yes.
with a Democratic governor, Democratic Secretary of State, Democratic Attorney General in both houses, mm-hmm. that there was a good chance that he would not win this purple state, but he indeed won this state. He held on to his base in terms of the numbers and then expanded?
Yes, he did. He added 172,000 voters compared to 4 years ago. Where did that happen? The one thing I respect Trump this time on the fact, he got back to basics. He was on same messaging. Whether you like the message, different thing, but he started hitting all those rural counties because almost all the voter increase was from 18% of the vote, which was out counties in mid-Michigan, western Michigan. So he was doing all that out county work, which showed up. Where the trouble was with Harris, the bottom line, basically, and Harris's problem was, people still didn't know who she was. When you talk to the voters.
The campaign was still only 710 days.
But the bottom line is that when she went negative on Trump, her numbers went down. So bottom line, when I was talking to Republican pollsters, Democratic pollsters, if Harris had just stayed on just telling about herself and issues, she probably would have won. Now, there was some racial bias, as we all know.
Sure.
There's some gender bias, but the biggest part, when you talk to voters, they didn't know who she was. That's why they stayed home, because they wanted to know more. She was still, basically, they sounded like this is Joe Biden's assistant versus this is Harris, the candidate.
And the economy and immigration and what's happening at the border loomed large. And those were messages that
she never really addressed.
That President-elect Donald Trump drove home in all of the ads, constantly stayed, as you said, on message.
On message. The difficulty with Harris, she should have done all those interviews, whether she was going to be good at it or not, from the very day one. But the bottom line, she did not have enough time in the 90 to 120 days to define herself and talk about her issues. Mm-hmm. Basically, everybody told her what the issues were. We never heard from her.
If, and this hindsight is always 20/20, it didn't happen, but if President Biden had done what he originally said he was going to do, be a transitional president, and had said from the very beginning, I'm not seeking a second term, and put his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. From a statistical standpoint, from polling, she probably would have had a better chance, certainly a longer chance to define herself, which could have worked both ways. More time to define yourself might have been good, might have been bad.
I would say it would increase to about at least a 7-8% chance of winning, okay? Because we still don't know how much this female or gender issue is still a problem for women becoming president, okay? But I would say, looking at the college electoral college state, she would have won. She would be president based on Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Because part of the problem was when she was being attacked at the end of the campaign, Hispanic men, because of women having more rights to vote other than their husbands, that's where those numbers corroded in some of the electoral college states. But the bottom line, she most likely would have won.
Okay, we need to get to a quick little break. We'll come back on, find out from your perspective, are we still a purple state? We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. Okay, Ed, the Senate race, did you expect it to be as close as it was? And you're talking about neck and neck, where when we say every vote counts, every vote counted.
Oh, I expected her to win, and I expected to be close. Maybe not that close, but I knew she was going to win.
She had more money.
She
started off earlier than anybody.
And also, here's the benefit that she had.
But Rogers ran one heck of a race.
But the point being, Rogers was with the Kamala Harris of the Republican side. They didn't really know who he is. But basically, if you talk to the people nationally and locally, Rogers was not their first choice for Senate. He still had a lot of negatives because the carpetbagger things. He came in from Florida. He had the problems with the money and all those kind of things that they were discussed with him. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is...
And he had been out of elective office for a while, even though he was well known and well respected in Washington when he was there and held key positions.
But the bottom line, if you look at Lisa Slotkin, the tough congressional race that she had 2 years ago helped her out, because that was the heart of Republican strength. You know, people got to know her, that she's a conservative Democrat, and she didn't focus only on female. She talked about other issues. So she benefited from running before.
The fact that Rogers did so well in the Senate race and came so close, does that put him in a good position with the Michigan GOP, which you've watched for a long time, which is clearly in a rebuilding mode, and Pete Hoekstra has sort of marshaled that party back into line? Does it put him in a good position to run for something else if he so desires?
I don't think he's convinced them yet that he's the right person yet. Okay. I've not heard conversations that like that, because you got to remember, in order to save Rogers, they actually asked, his other, another Republican to step away who had more money than Rogers did. So it's still not, remember, only reason he's in the race because Betsy DeVos, the airboat donated to his campaign early on in the primary.
I heard one thing I'm curious to know, because ads are so important in a political race, and I know you've drilled down, particularly as of late, about the importance of digital ads.
Yes.
Versus the old traditional ads. But one ad that people seem to really like was the ad that his wife did for him, but it came at the tail end of the campaign, and I kept hearing people say, where has she been? Why didn't they roll this ad out a long time ago? It might have gotten him over the edge. Your thoughts?
Well, if you go back to Gary Peters' last run for U.S. Senate, I said the same thing on one of your shows. I was saying Gary Peters is trailing in the polls or going to have a sweep because he never talked about his family. The same thing. Gary Peters got it out early because people want to know who you are. Don Riegel, every time he ran for U.S. Senate, he talked about his family. Okay, Lisa Slotkin talked about her mother. John Carlin's family. The bottom line is we knew nothing about Mike Rogers other than the fact that he came here and here's what he's going to do. So yes, that did hurt him by not putting that out earlier.
Why were Democrats able to increase their seats on the Michigan Supreme Court? And I know it's quote unquote a nonpartisan race, but all the people running were nominated by one of the political parties. But at the same time, they didn't increase their seats on the education seats.
Very quickly.
Whether it was the state board or it
Okay,
was
remember,
the three major
you
colleges?
can't vote straight party for judges. There's marked that you're an incumbent, but that's it. The bottom line is there was never a real effort on the Republican side to be sure their candidates was going to be pushed, they're going to win. Early in polling, they were leading. As a matter of fact, the first race to be called in Michigan was the Supreme Court races. They were leading, they won like with 63% of the vote. Their ads and the whole issue was so much better and stronger, and the large number of women turning out. The matter of fact is the race was over before it was even got started. When you looked at the campaign ads, if you look at your stations, buys, and look at the ads, the Republican side, the two judges, just didn't cut it. Bottom line, Republicans didn't invest the money that they normally do, and their candidates did not get attraction. People weren't attracted to their candidates. The two Democrats were very well received by the voters.
Third party impact?
Very little this time. The only place where I saw it was in Dearborn, where 4,000 Democrats stayed home, like they did statewide, so it wasn't like all the Arabs went away and voted for Trump. No, there was, you had a large number of third-party votes. And so basically, other than Dearborn, the third-party candidate was almost, didn't play a role in this race, because the large number of Democrats staying home, it wasn't because of the third-party races.
All right, you know redistricting, or as someone of our crew said, redistricting or gerrymandering, whichever term you want to use, you know it better than anybody. Who did it favor?
Well, basically, despite the Democrats losing 4 seats, it favored the Democrats because of the fact when I did analysis under the old boundaries going back the last 10 or 20 years, if the old boundaries were in place, the Democrats would have lost 9 to 11 seats. So by neutralizing some of the overdrawing of Republican seats benefited them. They still lost 4 seats. That's because, for example, in Wayne County alone, 40,000 Democrats stayed home. Part of that was in, the seat down by Wyandotte. Okay, that's where the Democrats stayed home. So bottom line, Democrats benefit. They would have lost more seats under the old plan than the new plan.
Very quickly, as I always say, time's our worst enemy. Republicans won back the state house.
Yes.
When you look at the seats that the Democrats won, or races that the Democrats won, the races that the Republicans won, does it go back and prove that we are still very much a purple
We are
state?
very purple because we look up north, some of the seats Republicans were thinking to get back, they didn't get them back, they won. You look at the 3rd congressional district, it's still the Democrat who holds that seat in a Republican area. Yes,
Right.
we are a purple state.
And Alyssa Slotkin's House seat flipped to a Republican, even though she was elevated to the
And in
US
more
Senate.
Republican seats, you had Miss Rivet, the congressional entry coming in as a new congressman from up north. That was a very Republican-leaning purple seat with Donald Trump area, and she won.
All right. Well, 2 years before the next gubernatorial race, and they're lining up as well as lining up for the next mayor of the city of Detroit. We'll have to talk about that in our next show because there'll be a zillion wannabes.
Yes.
S.R. Polis, thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, my pleasure too.
All right, and we'll get you back. And coming up, I'll talk to Sharon Banks. She'll be talking about a very important topic and a new film that will be making its debut in Detroit in just a few days. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is a familiar face, Sharon Banks. She is the president and CEO of Bankable Marketing Strategies, headquartered smack dab in the city of Detroit, downtown Detroit.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. You're doing okay?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Okay, I've known you for years. You've got your fingers on a zillion different things. But the latest project is a film called Until We're All Home. It's going to debut here in Detroit on November the 20th. What's it all about?
Well, let me start by saying that November is National Youth Homelessness Awareness Month. And November 15th through the 22nd is National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. So it's quite appropriate to have this film come to Detroit as part of its national tour, one of 6 cities that were selected to have it come here and be a part of our community. And it is a film that really wants to delve into what constitutes homelessness. What are the misconceptions? What are the stereotypes? What do people think they know about those that are unhoused in our community? And what actually is taking place as a social impact movement to help eradicate homelessness and engaging those who are unhoused in their own well-being and opportunities to progress in their lives and that of their families. So that's the thesis of the film.
Yeah, and I saw part of the trailer for the film, and it's a good example of homelessness can hit anybody. I mean, the right or wrong set of circumstances, whichever term you want to use, hit in almost any of our lives. We could find ourselves in that particular situation.
Our unhoused citizens, those that are homeless for whatever reason, coming from, as you suggest, a variety of areas, a variety of reasons why people are homeless, and the stereotypes of what that looks like. We need to make sure that it is recognized as much as a economic engine developer in any community to address homelessness and support those who are in the community each and every day, garnering the support, the resources that are needed. And that's why we have Bankable approached a neighborhood service organization to be our subject matter expert in presenting this film to our community, because they touch so many resources. They are a resource and a catalyst for change.
They do a great job in this
They're
setting.
phenomenal, and it's the leadership with Linda Little as the president and CEO. When I approached her on this, she did not hesitate. She said, "Sharon, yes, let's do it." And we got together and decided we had to build a plan from concept to completion to show this in our community.
This film that's going to debut in Detroit, where will it be? And it's open to the public, free, no charge?
It is free, open to the public. We do ask that people register, so there is a registration number to call or a link that one can go to, an Eventbrite link to register. And we're filling up fast,
Yeah.
which is good,
Yeah.
and we invite others to join us as a part of telling that story.
I think it's at the Northwest Activity Center.
Correct.
Which is an institution in this town.
Absolutely.
If you don't know about it, you don't know Detroit. It's been around forever over on the west side, so that's a good thing. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll come right back with some more questions right after this. The film is called Until We're All Home, talking about homelessness, and it's going to debut in 6 different cities, coming up here in Detroit on November the 20th, and we're one of the 6. After this film is shown, there's going to be a panel discussion, correct?
There is a panel discussion, and we're so excited with those who have agreed to be on our panel. Linda with NSO will moderate the panel, and we have 4 wonderful panelists that are going to join. We have Ryan Barnhill, who is Vice President of Government and Community Affairs with Olympia Development. We have Cheryl Johnson, President and CEO of COTS. Kimberly Faison with Detroit Future Cities, and she is Vice President of Thriving and Resilient Neighborhoods for the organization. And we're very pleased to have with us Julie Schneider. And Julie is the Director of the City of Detroit's Housing and Revitalization Department. So we've crossed the gamut of having people who are in the community doing a variety of work and a variety of opportunities to share with the community what we're doing and how this emphasis on our unhoused community is so important to them. And again, Linda Little will lead that panel discussion.
And I should say you did a great job with all those names and those long titles.
Thank you.
And I don't know what people think about when they do these titles, because you can't get them on business cards. But anyway, I run into it all the time, but it's all good. Linda Little was going to be here. Something came up in her schedule and she's not able to make it. She's been on the program before and does that big fundraiser at the Aretha every summer. And matter of fact, I was there this last year when she had that, and they did a great job and raised a lot of money. But I think you wanted to have a statement from her.
She has a statement. She apologizes for not being with us, but she's with us in spirit. And I just want to share her remarks. Through this screening, we aim to inspire hope and action. These communities are leading the way, showing that commitment, collaboration, and the right strategies dealing with homelessness can reduce and ultimately eradicate it. This film serves as both a testament to the power of community solutions and a call to action for all who want to make a difference.
Good. What a great statement, absolutely. And next time we'll get her
Yes.
here in the future. Finally, as we kind of conclude this conversation about this, if there's a closing thought you want to say to the public out there, because this has been a busy year for everybody. But as we approach the holidays, I think people kind of get a little more reflective, think about what kind of good they can do before the year wraps up. What would you say?
Well, certainly reach out to those in our community that are providing support and services to those that need it in our population of citizens.
Don't ignore that population.
It is imperative that we not ignore them and respect them. We have to make sure we understand that there for the grace of God sometimes go I. So we ask that people take heart and do what you can.
Right.
Visit, be a part of the organism.
It can be a lot.
Whatever you're able to do, it is appreciated. The organizations in this community appreciate it. This film lends itself to showing highlights of what it is that matters to homelessness, the community itself across the country, and those who support them.
And real quick, about 10 seconds, the producer of the film?
Well, we have three, but the producer that engaged us is Pictures Motion out of New York, and they're a community impact production company with distributions of this project and many others that they do across the world. They're global. Right. And so they make an initiative around supporting these kinds of programs. And we'll be working with them on some others.
Yeah, and they did a great job with this. Sharon Banks, thanks so much for coming in. Always good seeing you. And we'll put more information on the screen so that people can get to the debut of the film. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.